19.3 Chapter Review and Practice Problem. Chapter Review. Capital and land rental rates are determined by demand and supply in capital and land markets. Natural resource prices are determined by demand and supply in commodity markets. The demand for capital, land, and non renewable natural resources is determined by the value of their marginal products. The supply of land is perfectly inelastic, and the demand for land determines the rental rate. The supply of a non-renewable natural resource is perfectly elastic at price that makes the expected price rise at a rate equal to the interest rate. Expectation fluctuate and so do natural resource prices. Practice problem. Which of the items in list 1 are non-renewable natural resources, which are renewable natural resources, and which are not natural resources? Explain your answers. Natural resources include all the gifts of nature. A non-renewable natural resource is one that once used cannot be used again. A renewable natural resource is one that can be used repeatedly. Beaches of Florida, renewable resource. Lake Powell, renewable resource. Empire State Building, not a natural resource. Silver mines in Arizona, non-renewable resource. The Great Lakes, renewable resource. National parks, renewable resource. Redwood Forest, renewable resource. The Statue of Liberty, not a natural resource. Please correct, it is not a non-renewable resource. In the market for a non-renewable natural resource, explain what determines the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity. In a non-renewable natural resource market, the equilibrium price is the price that gives suppliers an expected profit equal to the interest rate. The equilibrium quantity is the quantity demanded at that price. Petroleum is a non-renewable natural resource and is constantly being used. Additionally, there are new technologies being developed that allow petroleum to be discovered in new locations, and also new technologies being developed that make more efficient use of petroleum. What effects do these changes have on the known reserves of petroleum, the demand for petroleum, and the price of petroleum? The discovery of new locations decrease the price, and more efficient use of available resources through technology will decrease the demand for resource, which in turn lowers the price. So whether the known reserves increase or decrease and whether the prices rise or falls depends on which of the effects is larger. The table shows the demand schedule for land. The supply of land is fixed at 20,000 square acres. In figure, label the axis and graph the demand and the supply curve of land. What is the equilibrium rent and quantity? The equilibrium rent is $350 an acre per month, and the equilibrium quantity is 20,000 acres. Suppose the demand decreases so that the quantity of land demanded decreases by 10,000 acres at each rent. What is the new equilibrium rent and quantity? Comment on the change in the rent and the change in the quantity. The decrease in demand lowers the equilibrium rent to $300 per acre, and the equilibrium quantity remains 20,000 acres. The change in demand changed only the rent, the quantity is unchanged. Because the supply is perfectly inelastic, changes in demand change only the rent and do not affect the quantity. There are billions of barrels of petroleum still in the ground. Why then is petroleum considered non-renewable natural resource? Petroleum is a non-renewable natural resource because once any particular barrel is used, that barrel cannot be used again. The table shows the demand and supply of capital. What is the equilibrium rental rate and quantity of capital? The equilibrium rental rate is $600 because this is the rental rate at which the quantity of capital demanded equals the quantity supplied. The equilibrium quantity of capital is $10 billion. Suppose that population growth increases the quantity of capital demanded by $20 billion at each rental rate and also increase the quantity of capital supplied by $20 billion at each rental rate. Now, what is the equilibrium rental rate and quantity of capital? In this question, both quantity demanded and supplied increased by the same amount. So the equilibrium rental rate remains the same at $600 and the equilibrium quantity of capital increases to $130. This is true or false, and multiple choice questions.